This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. You can find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Welcome to Red Panda Report number 15, The Kid Who Knew Too Much. I'm discussing Red Panda Adventures number 15, When Darkness Falls. Here is the copy for it. In the margins of every adventure story, there are stories untold and heroes unsung. This episode, we step into the spaces between the comic book panels for a very special story. If you've ever wondered about the Red Panda's oft-mentioned never-seen agents, or if you've ever simply stared out over the rooftops of your city and dreamed of being a hero, you won't want to miss a moment of When Darkness Falls. Originally aired November 6, 2006, written and directed by Greg Taylor. So, this was a really fun, really fantastic episode, and I will get into the first bit of it by going over the topics real quick, and we'll see how long it takes, because I might talk for a while on this. So this is the case of the kid and instant sympathy. Oftentimes, there are times when children written into stories like this are irritating. I can think of a big, fat, modern example that is not irritating and is instead endearing, and that would be Grogu from The Mandalorian. It was a big surprise to people based on the marketing of that show when Grogu was revealed to be a part of it, and we learned more and more about this Baby Yoda character as time went on, and he got to be adorable and useful and an interesting living MacGuffin for the story, and that really added something to it. It set apart The Mandalorian from what it could have been without the inclusion of that type of character, so that's pretty darn interesting. I would say that Harry Kelly kind of makes for the same type of character. Obviously, Harry Kelly preceded Grogu by, 2006 to 2000, 20? 14 years maybe? 14, 15 years, something like that. And that's impressive. It's not an idea entirely original to Greg Taylor. In fact, I'm going to mention Lone Wolf and Cub, which I believe actually Mando kind of pulls from with him having to take care of a baby, even though he's 50, but whatever. But Harry Kelly kind of offers the same opportunity, the same instant sympathy, like I mentioned earlier in the topic title, that there's a kid whose life is in danger, who witnessed a murder or the aftermath of a murder, who is earnest and honest and wants to help, and he, he's fulfilling the promise that he made to a dying man, and he's at the edge of this bigger thing that he can tell is exciting and interesting and the most profound thing that he's ever been tangentially sort of related to in his entire life, which up until now has, maybe been insignificant, normal kid stuff. And he sees this opportunity for something more and he wants it. And he is brave enough or foolish enough, if you listen to Spiro, to want the opportunity and to take action to seize that opportunity for himself. And again, his life is put in danger multiple times over the course of the episode, maybe 3 total. And there's just something magical about that blend where I like the kid. This is a great kid character in this adventure story. And, I'm an adult. I did like Dick Tracy as a kid, Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy, which featured the kid who I think they just call the kid throughout the whole thing. I don't even know if he has a name. Little redhead guy, right? Or maybe his hair is brown. Whatever. He's like an orphan or something, and somehow he ends up wrapped up in this mystery with Dick Tracy and his dame, and they go on, some adventure, and like the kid has a part of it. In fact, I watched Dick Tracy so much that I actually had a dream that there were shark gangsters that I was involved tangentially, like the kid and Dick Tracy, fighting somehow, and I think I defeated them somehow by getting them flushed into a toilet or something ridiculous like that. But like this, and Dick Tracy obviously is pulling from the pulp. So like this pulp icon of the kid helping out, which actually is something that happens in Captain America comics originally. In fact, Bucky Barnes, Bucky, I think as Bucky, as the kid, not the superhero, actually works with a group of kids, and it's like there's like a token girl, there's a token black kid who's a coward for some reason, there's a fat kid. It's like this whole little legion of superhero. They're not really superheroes, but like kids who get into these adventures and mysteries and stuff, and then fighting one of the Captain America villains. Like a one-off villain from Captain America escapes somehow, and he ends up becoming like kind of a recurring villain for this group of kids, as far as I can remember from reading the Cap comics a couple of years ago and looking into how it branched out, because I wasn't going to read the kid comics, but maybe that was a foolish choice of mine. Maybe I would have been very entertained by them. But anyway, I was too focused on Cap himself that I didn't want to read these spinoffs, but I knew about them and I just kind of looked into them for a little bit, and that was the thing. So that's kind of a iconic pulp thing with some characters. I don't think the Shadow has any juvenile agents, and the Shadow is very much a major influence on the Red Panda, but it's there. It exists. And I don't know, maybe it's maybe the Bronze Man has kid agents, because the agents play, I think, a larger role for what's that guy's name? The Bronze Man, whatever his real name is, Doc Savage. Maybe the agents play. They seem to, from what I've researched on Doc Savage, play more of a role, and maybe there's even juvenile agents. I'm not exactly sure about that at the moment. But anyway, regardless, you get it. I'm impressed by this kid character who kind of steals the show and is a lot of fun. Based on, I don't know why this matters to me, but I'm pretty sure it's Shannon Arnold playing the voice, and she's played like Tufts before and Young Women, and she's played Harry Kelly or this young voice similar to this as like a newsie, I believe, in previous episodes. But yeah, Harry Kelly becomes, I'm just going to tell you, Harry Kelly becomes a recurring character, and he has a very interesting story that I enjoy. I think his episodes are some of my favorites. So anyway, that's enough talking about that aspect of it. I want to talk about the agents of the Red Panda generally. It's interesting. The copy tells you that this is going to be about the little guys. And I thought it was interesting. Red Panda and Flying Squirrel don't show up till like minute 9 or minute 10. And it's just a little, it's the fight, right? It's the fight. They knock the guys out. And then there's a little, organ stinger, playing on the organ, the piano type thing. Anyway, there's a little stinger, and then it gets then they get wrapped up into the rest of the episode. Similarly, or interestingly, in the Shadow novels, the Shadow is almost like a feature player, or not a feature player. He's almost like, it's almost sometimes that the Shadow novels, and I've only read or listened to a couple of them, have his agents doing most of the action. And then in the middle of the book, he comes into the story in a major way. So it's interesting to me that the same thing is kind of done here, but Spiro, Andy Parker, Gregor Samson, and then, little Harry Kelly becoming an agent too. I love seeing the stories of these guys who have no superpowers. They might have guns. Gregor Samson, well, I don't know what all his skills were, but he may or may not have, he was posing as a criminal in the underworld, so he probably had a gun. But like Spiro, just an old boxer, and anyway, just this idea of like these ordinary men who have these extraordinary lives and do these extraordinary things under this great man whose word is law in the Red Panda is super interesting. And having the Flying Squirrel add her unique twist to that whole framework is really interesting too, because like Andy Parker seems like he's in love with her, and Spiro doesn't think she's hideous and whatever. So it's just really interesting, this like heroic everyman thing. And this is pre-war, so it's post World War I and it's pre World War II. So we're still in the 30s in Toronto. So it's interesting to see. I think Andy Parker is way too young to have been in the war, but maybe Spiro's a veteran, and I don't know about anybody else, but it's just kind of interesting to think of these normal men, even though Andy Parker's a cop, being active in this extraordinary world and doing these extraordinary things and being selfless. And like, they've all got something to lose. Andy Parker could, lose his job. He could lose his life because he's more active. Spiro's only, a middleman, so to speak, but he still gets into danger, as we see in this episode. He's got a wife to worry about. Who knows if he has, adult children, if he has grandchildren. I mean, who knows what his story really is. But it's interesting that these, like I said, these ordinary men are doing these extraordinary things and risking themselves to do it all. I was really impressed by how gutsy Harry Kelly is. And like I said, he kind of steals the show. He kind of carries the episode in some ways, you could say. His friend is too sensible, the cop says, to run down the aisle and check out the dying man. Instead, he wants to run away. And Harry doesn't want to do that. And then he's willing to go back there and, lead Andy Parker to the secret message that Samson had for him. And that's great. And then after that, when he's with Red Panda and Flying Squirrel at the end, he's talking about how he wants to be an agent. He wants to be, useful and active, and he doesn't care about the danger. And, that's foolhardy, but it's also brave. And that's really cool. So I like that. I like that a lot. He's very endearing. Okay, so there were a lot of first appearances in this episode. They are as follows. Not a lot. They're just big first appearances, and I didn't know they all came together. So we've got Harry Kelly. We've got Gregor Sampson / Agent 33. We've got Constable Andy Parker as Agent 51. And we've got Spiro, who's the contact man that runs everything. And beyond him, there's some sort of dispatch that we don't know of. I don't think... I feel like the dispatcher has been mentioned one time in the episode with the journalist, their friend journalist. Is that right? Has that happened yet? I don't know. But we'll talk about her later. Her? Who's her? Is that the journalist or is that the other contact person? I don't know. You'll have to find out. Keep listening to the Red Panda Man. It's good stuff. So that's pretty cool. I like their first appearances. There was, I guess, maybe the smoke bombs were a first appearance gadget. I don't know about that. I don't know if that counts or not. But yeah, I don't know. It was cool. This feels... Well, let me finish up. So, gadgets. Okay, so there were sort of gadgets or technologies. There's coded messages. Gregor Sampson leaves a coded message for the Red Panda. It gets to him eventually, and then causes things to escalate. And then signs and countersigns. Andy Parker knocks on the door, and then Spiro knocks with this ridiculous tapping pattern. Which, how ridiculous it is, and how much mental energy it would take to have that memorized reminds me of how in The Shadow, the men who were working for The Shadow as his agents would have to listen to messages, and they would pay attention to words that were emphasized just so that were hidden in larger messages that... So anyway, ridiculous, right? I don't know what it looks like in the script because I've only heard the audiobook versions of that, but that's how the reader emphasize them, and it was weird, but super logical. But also, in order to do that sort of thing, you have to really think about the message, and it can't just be something you do on the fly. So it's just it adds this fun spycraft and I don't know how else to say it, but spycraft, this cool spycraft secret agent thing or vibe, aspect to the stories. And those are it's fun, it's exciting, it's pulpy, schlocky fun, and I really enjoy that. So, we don't get... It's not that severe in Red Panda here. Maybe because Taylor didn't want to steal that specifically from The Shadow and wanted to go his own way and have just, generically their coded messages, and we don't get an insight into how they're structured. Which I was kind of expecting we would, but we didn't. That's okay. But that was pretty interesting. So, anyway, that's it on first appearances and gadgets. So now I just kind of want to give, I don't know, more of my general thoughts, but more specified in a certain area. And this is what I'm talking about. For some reason, this episode feels more fun, more adventurous, and more like a superhero story to me than the others have. And I know that's not strictly accurate. We've had supervillains. We've had, the Sphinx is just okay. He's a, C-list supervillain. The Pharaoh of Felonies. Sorry. He's okay. Dr. Zombie or Professor Zombie is a very interesting, big, larger than life character with a crazy performance. This episode brings us the outcome or the aftermath of the, body swap and the return of the Golden Claw, which is interesting because she's not in it. She's only mentioned in it. And it's the repercussions of her doing what she's doing, and, the possibility that there are, other corpses of people out there who've been, body swapped or however you want to, body hijacked. That's kind of the threat. And then the threat to this kid and, some of Red Panda's agents. But it was just toughs and thugs who were after them and who were fought. And like I said, Red Panda and Flying Squirrel were in, I don't know, maybe they were in they were active in about a third of the episode, but it was so good without them. And that just seems, it was so good without them, but the parts where they were there felt more super heroic than anything else. And maybe because you're seeing it maybe you're seeing through Harry Kelly's eyes and seeing, and getting the fact that, these agents are outmatched in a lot of ways. Like, they're outmatched, or they're in much more danger, you could say, than Red Panda and Flying Squirrel are going up against regular toughs and thugs. Even though Red Panda and Flying Squirrel go up against much tougher opponents, but it scales to them because that's what they can handle. So they can fight bigger. They can fight bigger guys because they're worthy of that. Whereas the agents aren't, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really interesting, and it just felt really dynamic and really fresh and really exciting. And like, I wasn't scared that I didn't think Harry Kelly was actually going to get killed. Like, not because this is my third time listening to this, and not because it felt like that would happen, but it still felt amazing. Like the I don't know, it was more of a spectacle. It was more wonderful. Like I was more full of wonder listening to this episode, because I don't know, it's just the way I'm not exactly sure. There's some magic in there. I think that Harry Kelly is very much part of it, and the scenario, the way it was written around him. And like, even though like Flying Squirrel makes a little comment that's a little racy, it's fairly well camouflaged. And like Harry Kelly picks up on it, but it's like innocent. He's like, 8-10-year-old kid, whatever. And he's like, he gets that Andy Parker's kind of sweet on her, and he's blushing because of her and everything. And like, she makes she makes a comment to him. Anyway, there's comments going around, but like, it feels innocent and fresh and sweet, as opposed to, Kit can definitely bring a more adult edge to things if she wants to. And whether that's through violence or anything else. But that didn't happen. And yet the danger was real. And I don't know, it's interesting because it was so earnest and so real, and yet so kid-friendly at the same time. Like, I would have no problem with my kids, listening to this or seeing it depicted. And I think it's really quality and really entertaining. Actually, I should do an experiment and have them listen to 2 random episodes, this and one other, or one other than this, and see what they like better. Because I have tried to get them to listen to Red Panda before. My eldest is cool with it. The others not so much. And, nobody's perfect. So, doesn't make me love them any less. Not at all. Anyway, that's all I have to say. These episodes are running a lot longer than I want them to, but I'm producing them much more efficiently. Like, it's a very trim turnaround, so maybe I'm okay with that. I really wanted to keep in the 10-minute length, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Maybe I just need to be a little more choosy with how I discuss the various elements in these episodes. We'll see. So, with that, I thank you for listening. I hope that you're well, and this is MJ signing out. I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to keep up with me. Like and share to help me reach more people like you. And go to mjmunoz.com to find your next favorite thing. And don't forget to let your voice be heard. Stories are always better when you're part of the conversation. Until next time, be well. This is MJ signing out. This has been a Story Over Everything production.